what you think of as black is bad things. I know. I want people to think of me as black because I represent good things. So I think it's been a really interesting project to be part of, personally, certainly. And my parents, my mom's black, my dad's white. And when they started dating in 1958, no restaurant would serve them in Baltimore, Maryland, because interracial couples would not be allowed to eat together. When they got married, interracial marriage was illegal in Maryland, so they had to go to D.C. to get married. And the year after I was born, the Supreme Court overturned the law that banned interracial marriages. The year after I was born, and I'm number 5. My little brother, the year my little brother was born, was the year, the 6th kid. So, I think that it's certainly an interesting perspective on African Americans in this country.
And it begs the question, especially when you look in terms of the presidential election now, the discussion that's going on with Obama and his blackness. Is he black? Is he?
Well, I thought that was amazing that he went from being, is he black enough or not black enough to being too Afrocentric because of his reverend. And part of that is just
even by some
part
terms.
of that is just the nature of media, the media cycle. But yeah, it is so interesting. It's so interesting, and if Barack Obama does become the next president of the United States, well, does that mean, whew, thank goodness, the playing field is finally level for black people. Look, you're the president of the United States now. I've had people say that to me, that they can't wait for him to be elected because finally black people will shut up, was the quote. Finally black people will shut up about their complaints. That's certainly one perspective. So it's been a very fascinating, it's really been an interesting education. And I'm really proud to be part of it because it's not done a lot, and I see why. It's a lot. It's a lot to get the story right, to be accurate but also right. I mean, you can be accurate but not quite right. You got to get it right because you're showing people their own experience. Everybody knows when you get it right, and everybody knows when you get it wrong.
What have you learned through this experience, and I guess you're not finished with this documentary yet, but what have you walked away with so far?
I guess I feel very hopeful, I mean, sometimes certainly in some of the stories we cover, you don't feel very hopeful because sometimes you're knee deep, whether it's Katrina or the tsunami, and you're knee deep in just bad, and it feels like there's no way out. But I think that we have some huge stumbling blocks, and education is one. Public education was such a dream for families like mine. Immigrant family, where they just thought like, wow, this is amazing. There's good schools and they're free and you're going to go and you're going to succeed and you can, as I did and all my brothers and sisters did, go to Harvard from a public school in a little community that's not full of mansions. But I think it's also depressing because you see so much that has to be overcome, so many obstacles for your average kid. It's not fair that your average kid in the inner city has to do a pole vault out of poverty. It's just unfair. It should be easier than that. It shouldn't be, whew. Michelle Obama said that in an interview I did with her. She said, I sat in a class with lots of bright kids. It shouldn't be that I'm the only one, that it's a big surprise when I go on to Princeton and Harvard Law School. It should be that everybody, a bunch of people, a lot of smart kids, they all go on. I don't want to stick out and be the only one. That's, ridiculous. And we were interviewing Professor Fryer, and you sit there and you look at these 4th graders he's working with. These kids are so bright. He has them running up to the chalkboard doing math wars where they have to do, addition and subtraction problems. And these kids are so engaged and they're so bright. So why by 7th grade will half of those boys not be interested?